and welcome to our film show, where this week's new releases focus on people facing adversity, 3 of which were made by first-time directors. Well, to tell us how those debutantes fared, Lisa Nesselson joins me in the studio. Hi, Lisa. Now, we're starting with La Nuée, or The Swarm in English. This is a horror film anchored in modern-day France. Netflix has the right for this worldwide, except for China, Spain and France. It's on at the cinema here. I hear the special effects in this film are very convincing. Tell us more.
Well, there are a lot of French films that concentrate on food, but none quite like this. And you absolutely heard right. The digital and mechanical effects are dazzling, and they are seriously creepy. Widowed mom Virginie, played with committed gusto by Ibrahim, has converted the family farm into a small, labor-intensive breeding facility for edible locusts, a crunchy source of protein that can be ground into flour. It will help the planet and ideally sustain this 3-person family unit with her son and daughter. But like most farmers everywhere, she can't get a fair price for her wares, which means she can't turn a profit, let alone afford the insect's customary diet. When she accidentally discovers the locusts thrive, bigger, peppier, and mutating on human blood, watch out. Not for the squeamish, but really fun for fans of body horror with Cronenbergian intellectual underpinnings. The film asks how far a matriarch should go to nourish her own children and her entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm a fan of body horror, but here is the director on the issues that inspired the film, and here's a glimpse of The Swarm.
It was a good way to talk about these messages, these questions we're asking ourselves today about man-made catastrophes, especially their consequences. It was meant to be a political film, or at least a film with important talking points.
Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire?
Now, it's worth pointing out that this film should have had its premiere at the International Critics Week in Cannes last year, had the festival taken place. But going back to that clip, those grasshoppers certainly look impressive, not to say terrifying.
Well, what distinguishes the film is how creepy, crawly the critters are, authentically inspired by how locusts go from neutral behavior to the swarming plague phase. Ominous details are planted with visual flair, and sound design outstanding. And while I was slightly let down by the conclusion, that unnervingly gung-ho central performance pretty much makes up for it. You know, hard work is supposed to pay off. Families are supposed to be loving and supportive. The only kindness here is the neighboring vintner Karim, a generous man of North African heritage who fancies Virginie, although her greatest physical desire is for a good night's sleep. Escalating social desperation makes the tale pertinent, and insects that go bump in the night make it original.
Okay, original and scary. Well, next to a shift for French actor Samir Guesmi, who's gone behind the camera this time. This is someone who's appeared in some 90 screen roles in the last 3 decades. He's written, directed and co-starred in Ibrahim, which is set here in Paris, and the film picked up a few trophies at various film festivals here in France. Tell us more.
Well, this is a textbook example of a movie that really shouldn't work, but absolutely does. It's hard to imagine anybody not responding positively to this tale in which an otherwise dutiful son screws up, causes his hardworking single dad unintentional pain, and tries to make amends. Toss in the love of a good woman, and you've got what sounds like an assortment of cliches pulled out of the nearest hat. Like performers turned directors before him, from Clint Eastwood to Miguel Garcia, Samir Guesmi has definitely picked up on film sets a sense of what makes a story tick on screen. Just one mistake creates a cascade of problems. 17-year-old student Ibrahim lives in public housing in Paris's 13th arrondissement. Basically, he's a good kid, especially so considering his mom has never been in the picture. And unlike most teenagers in my experience, he knows how to prepare a gourmet meal from fresh seafood because his father, Ahmed, played by Guesmi with dignified strokes, works at a brasserie near the Paris Opera, shucking oysters. Ahmad is appreciated at work clerk, and if all goes well, will soon be promoted to waiter. But all doesn't go well. Ibrahim makes one dishonest decision with overwhelming repercussions, and from then on, the love father and son feel for each other becomes almost impossible to express.
Okay, well, let's hear what the director has to say about that father-son dynamic, and let's get a look at Ibrahim.
Drame 99 euros.
J'ai besoin de thunes là, j'y arrive pas tout seul.
Quoi t'as besoin?
Mon père, là, à cause de moi, il pourra pas payer ses prothèses. Si je trouve pas la thune, il pourra pas servir en salle.
3, 4. Ça c'est pour toi. Maintenant ça suffit pour aujourd'hui. Jamais trop on va faire le premier jour. Arrête de courir.
Ce qui m'intéressait, c'était de raconter comment.
I wanted to tell the story of how two entities so close, that being a father and a son, could be such strangers to each other.
Peuvent être à la fois.
How they could be on one hand so close, yet so distant from each other.
Et si loin.
Now, Lisa, you mentioned that plot point, the love of a good woman, earlier.
Yes, well, Ibrahim is a handsome fellow, but awkward and confused. Incredibly self-assured Louisa takes a bemused interest in him. Up-and-comer Luana Bajrami, who just turned 21, is perfectly cast as Louisa. If you saw Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire, she played the housemaid using late 18th century methods to try and induce an abortion. And her directing debut, a film called The Hill Where Lionesses Roar, is premiering in Cannes in a few weeks. She came to France from Kosovo as a child, and she's a walking example of why embracing immigrants can be a major plus for a nation, at least in the arts.
Oh, wow, sounds like a fascinating cast. Now, next to a film that has charmed audiences, Minari, this is a prize-winning autobiographical piece from Lee Isaac Chung, is a story of a Korean family trying to create a farm in 1980s Arkansas, and apparently this film almost didn't get made.
That's right. Colorado-born Lee Isaac Chung got attention with his first film in 2007 and made 2 subsequent features. But at age 40, accepted a teaching job in South Korea because he felt his career as a director just wasn't really going anywhere. But before he left the U.S., the director sat down in a library and took the time to write out 80 personal memories, decided he had the makings of a script based on his childhood on a farm where pretty much nothing would grow, wrote a script, gave it to his agent, and then left the U.S. to teach and to give his young daughter a greater sense of Korea. When he was away, his agent showed the script to Brad Pitt, whose production company, Plan B, decided to produce. A terrific cast fell into place, and Chung cut short his teaching contract to come back to shoot the film in 25 days in the summer of 2019. In January of 2020, it won the Grand Jury and Audience Awards at Sundance, and this April occasioned a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for the Korean national treasure who plays the feisty, adorable grandmother.
Amazing, and certainly not bad for a guy who was going to give up on filmmaking. So what is the film actually about?
Well, father, mother, daughter, and young son can't make a go of it in California and relocate, at dad's insistence, to rural Arkansas. Mom and dad get truly thankless jobs sorting baby chicks in a factory, a mind-numbing procedure called chicken sexing. But dad believes they'll be able to grow crops on the hardly promising 50 acres he bought. The tension this dicey situation places on the parents is seen by the son, but kids, the film emphasizes, tend to be resilient. When Grandma shows up from Korea, the title plant may offer hope. The family's precarious situation is explored with wry humor.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Minari.
If you're here with us for the first time, please stand. What a beautiful family. Glad you're here.
How's your daddy like that new farm? He growing things good, doing things right?
Yes.
미국 애들은 할머니랑 같이 방 쓰는 거 싫어한다던데.
But I don't like Grandma.
쟤는 안 그래요. 한국애니까.
Grandma smells like Korea.
야, 뭐라고? Grandma smell?
That's definitely one to check out. And finally, another French feature by 2 first-time directors, Fanny Liattard and Jérémy Trouille. They make use of the real-life decor of a low-income Paris suburb. It's called Gagarin, and it would have premiered at last year's Cannes Film Festival as well, had it not been cancelled. Tell us more about the film.
This is an incredibly ambitious tale with more organically occurring diversity and intersectionality than you can shake a stick at. Yuri, a 16-year-old resident of the Gagarin complex, a housing project, named the character and the housing project for pioneering Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, doesn't want to abandon his home, which is slated for demolition. Yuri stays in the mostly abandoned structure and ingeniously using found objects fashions his own vision of a space capsule and fantasizes about escaping Earth's gravity. That's a metaphor and a perfectly understandable one. The filmmakers have found a lot of young talent with which to offer us smart, energetic characters whose potential contributions to French society are repeatedly thwarted by circumstances. Alcini Batali carries much of the film on his shoulders, with friends, acquaintances, and love interests drawn from Arab and Roma backgrounds complementing his African heritage. It's a thought-provoking and entertaining exploration of what constitutes a home, the power of imagination, and the tyranny of the wrecking ball.
Sounds like a very exciting debut. Thank you very much for the tip, Lisa, and thank you for joining us this week. We'll leave you with a glimpse of Gagarin. Do remember you can get more movie news on our website. We're on social media too. Otherwise, stay tuned to France 24, where there's more news coming up just after this.